I want to start today with a feeling that I think everyone listening is going to recognize immediately.
Oh, yeah.
It is that feeling of standing in a bookstore.
Right.
Or like scrolling through a streaming service or looking at your feed and just feeling completely paralyzed.
Paradox of choice.
It is the paradox of choice, sure, but it is also something deeper, I think.
How so?
It is this overwhelming sense that there's just too much to know and, well, not enough time to know it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are constantly hunting for the hack, right?
What a shortcut.
Exactly, the shortcut. We want the top 10 ways to fix your life or the 5-minute history of the world.
We are definitely an efficiency-obsessed culture, that is for sure.
Totally.
We treat wisdom like fast food. We want it hot and ready and preferably delivered right to our door without us having to actually cook anything.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that really struck me while digging into the stack of research for today's deep dive.
Okay.
We tend to think this is a modern problem.
Right. We blame the internet.
We blame the internet, we blame smartphones, we blame the 24-hour news cycle.
Sure.
But the source material we are looking at today proves that this search for a shortcut to wisdom is actually, it is thousands of years old.
It really is.
Yeah.
The fundamental human anxiety about not knowing enough and the desire for a single key to unlock everything is just timeless.
So today we are doing something a little different.
We are.
We are analyzing a specific ancient dialogue that frames this exact problem.
It is a great starting point.
It is a conversation between a seeker, a man named Shaunak, and a sage named Sutji.
Right.
And the text we are unpacking is the opening to the Shiva Purana.
And this is a really fascinating place to start because the Shiva Purana is presented as a Mahapurana, a great Purana.
A massive text.
Exactly, a massive compendium of knowledge, cosmology, ritual, and philosophy.
Yeah.
But it doesn't start with the answers. It starts with a question.
A very desperate question, actually.
Yes, it does.
Right, and just to set the scene for everyone listening, this isn't two guys chatting at a coffee shop.
No, not at all.
We are in the forest of Naimisharanya, which is a legendary setting in Indian texts.
A very sacred space.
It is a gathering of sages. Shaunak is the head of this massive sacrifice that is supposed to last 1,000 years.
Which tells you something about their dedication.
Right, so these are smart people, these are the intellectuals of their day.
Correct. Shaunak is not a novice by any means.
No.
He is a Kulapati, the head of a community of sages. He is extremely well-versed in the Vedas. He knows the rituals inside and out.
And yet
he is unsatisfied.
that is the hook of this entire text. You have this guy who has arguably read everything and done every ritual, and he still turns to Sutji and basically asks for help.
He needs more.
So let's define the mission of this deep dive.
Okay.
We're going to unpack the specific claims made in this text regarding human psychology and the diagnosis of the current age,
Which they call Kaliyuga.
right, Kaliyuga,
Okay.
and the proposed solution, which is the Shiva Purana itself.
And we should definitely warn you listening right now, the solution is surprising.
Very surprising.
It makes a big promise that you usually do not see in spiritual texts.
Yeah, this is the part that made me raise an eyebrow.
I can imagine.
Because usually when you read these ancient philosophical texts, the message is pretty clear.
Fun or freedom, pick one.
Exactly. If you want spiritual liberation, you need to go live in a cave, eat roots, and stop enjoying life.
Renunciation. That is the standard path we are taught about.
Right. But this text claims to offer a method for both worldly enjoyment and spiritual liberation.
Which sounds impossible.
It is the have your cake and eat it too of theology.
Which is exactly why it is so relevant to us today. Because let's be honest, very few of us are actually going to move to a cave.
I am definitely not.
Right. We want to function in the world, but we don't want to be crushed by it either.
Precisely. So let's get right into the diagnosis, section 1 of our outline.
Okay.
We have Shaunak the Seeker. He approaches Sutji.
Yeah.
How does he start this conversation? Because he doesn't just say, hey, tell me a story.
No, the address is very specific and highly respectful.
Right.
Shaunak calls Sutji the knower of all principles or doctrines. He acknowledges Sutji's vast erudition.
He pays his respects.
He basically says, you have navigated the ocean of knowledge. But then Shaunak makes a very specific request.
What does he ask for?
He asks for the sar.
Sar. S-A-A-R.
Yes. In Sanskrit, sar means the essence.
The essence.
The extract, the juice, the distilled core. Shaunak says, describe the essence of the Puranas to me.
So he explicitly wants the distilled version.
He does. He is
Alright.
admitting that he cannot possibly read all the Puranas in detail.
Even as an intellectual.
even as an intellectual, he wants the cliff notes, but not just the summary of the plot. He wants the summary of the wisdom.
It is really interesting that he differentiates between the stories and the essence.
Yes.
He is looking for the utility of the knowledge.
Exactly. And look at his follow-up question.
Okay.
He asks, how does discrimination or vivek, that is comprised of knowledge and detachment along with devotion, actually grow?
Let's pause on that word vivek for a second.
Sure.
We translate it as discrimination, but in English, discrimination has a distinctly negative connotation.
It definitely does.
In this context, it means something else entirely right.
Completely different. In Vedanta and Puranic thought, vivek is the crowning jewel of the intellect.
The crowning jewel.
It is the ability to discern the real from the unreal, the permanent from the temporary.
Truth from illusion.
Exactly. Truth from illusion. It is your inner compass.
So Shaunak is asking, how do I build this mental muscle?
Yes. How do I get better at seeing things as they actually are?
And he links this to a very practical psychological struggle, doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah.
He asks, how do good people get rid of their vices, specifically kama and krodha?
Lust and anger.
Exactly.
This is where the diagnosis gets a little dark.
It gets very real.
Shaunak frames this question against the backdrop of the current era, which is Kaliyuga.
Right.
Now I feel like we see this word thrown around on social media constantly.
Oh, absolutely.
People think, oh, it's Kaliyuga, everything is falling apart. But what does the source text actually say about this era? Is it just, quote unquote, bad times?
It is much more clinical than that. The text says that in this era, Kaliyuga living beings have acquired an asuri nature.
Asuri meaning demonic.
Yes, demonic. But hold on, don't visualize people growing horns and tails.
Right, not the cartoon version.
No, that is the cartoon version. In Indian philosophy, an asura isn't necessarily a monster hiding under the bed.
What is it then?
An asura is a being driven by ego power and unchecked desire.
So when the text says people have a demonic nature, it is actually describing a psychological profile.
Precisely. It is a profile characterized by those two vices Shaunak mentioned.
Kama and krodha.
Yes. Kama, which is lust or obsessive desire, and krodha, which is anger or reactive aggression.
Wow.
The demon is the internal state of constant agitation.
That feels uncomfortably accurate for today.
It really does.
If you look at the state of public discourse, or even just our own internal monologues, agitation and unchecked desire is basically the default setting.
It is the algorithm of the age, you might say.
I love that phrase, the algorithm of the age.
Shaunak observes that the people around him, and remember, he is asking on behalf of all humanity, are struggling to maintain their vivek, their clarity, because they are swamped by this asuri nature. They know what is right, but they are too angry or too distracted to actually do it.
So the diagnosis is, we are living in an era where the environment is inherently hostile to mental peace.
Yes.
Our default setting is asuri, agitated, angry, desirous. And because of this, we can't see clearly. We completely lack vivek.
That is the exact problem statement.
So Shaunak asks for a solution, but he doesn't just ask for vague help.
No, he doesn't.
He gives Suji a whole spec sheet. He lists specific criteria for the solution. What are they?
He is very demanding, actually. He asks for a sadhan.
Siddhan.
A sadhan means a tool or an instrument, and he says this tool must be three very specific things.
Okay, let's go through them.
First, it must be Kalyankari. This means welfare-oriented. It has to actually do good in the real world. It can't just be theoretical philosophy.
So practical utility. Check.
Second, it must be Mangalkari. This means auspicious. It should bring good fortune and overall positivity to the person's life.
Auspicious, okay.
And the third?
Third, and most importantly, it must be pavitrata. This means purifying.
Purifying. So he views this asuri nature, this anger and lust, as a kind of contamination.
Exactly. He sees the mind as being dirty or clouded.
He wants a detergent, basically.
A mental detergent, yes.
Yeah.
He explicitly asks for a means by which the mind becomes pure or shuddhi.
Shuddhi.
And the end goal of this purification is very specific. He wants a person of pure heart to attain Shiva permanently.
Okay, so let's recap the setup here. The world is chaotic. Our minds are messy and prone to constant anger.
Right.
We don't have time to read a million books. We need one single tool that is auspicious, practical, and acts as a heavy-duty cleanser for the psyche.
That is a perfect summary of the seeker's demand. So how does the sage respond to this? Because if I were a professor and a student came to me and said, I didn't do any of the reading, just give me the shortcut to enlightenment, I might be a little annoyed.
You probably would be.
Does Suji scold him for this?
Not at all. And this is a crucial point in the text.
Really?
Suji actually validates the question. He praises Shaunak. He calls him blessed, or Danya.
He calls him blessed for wanting a shortcut. That seems backwards.
Well, he calls him blessed for the desire to know. He says you are blessed because there is immense love and longing in your mind to hear the Purana.
This is incredibly interesting. So the inquiry itself is considered a virtue.
Yes, absolutely. In this tradition, jigasa, which is the burning desire to know the truth, is considered the first real sign of spiritual awakening.
Jigasa.
The fact that Shaunak is worried about the state of the world and worried about the state of his own mind proves that he is actually ready for the answer.
Because someone who isn't ready wouldn't even ask.
Exactly. A person who is fully Asuri or demonic wouldn't care at all. They would just enjoy the chaos and feed off it. Shaunak actually cares.
That is a deeply comforting thought. The fact that you are worried about your attention span means you still have one to save.
Precisely. You are still aware. So Suchi accepts the premise completely. He says, I will tell you the very best scripture. He agrees to give the essence.
And this is the reveal, the big drumroll moment of the text.
The reveal. He introduces the Shiva Purana.
He doesn't say go meditate for 10 years.
No, he points to a text. He describes it as the Amrit, the nectar of immortality.
Amrit. We really need to unpack that metaphor because it comes up a lot in mythology.
It does.
Usually it is a physical potion that the gods and demons fight over. If you drink it, you literally live forever.
Right, that is the literal mythology. But here, Suchi is engaging in a very sophisticated bit of symbolism.
Okay.
He is saying that the Shiva Purana itself, the actual knowledge contained in this text, is the Amrit.
So consuming this story equates to consuming the nectar of immortality.
Yes. But we have to define what immortality means in this specific context.
Right, because it doesn't mean your physical body never dies.
Exactly. It means you are cured of the disease of the cycle of birth and death.
Okay.
You are cured of the suffering that is inherent in the Kaliyuga. The text acts as the literal antidote to the poison of the age.
I find it completely fascinating that he prescribes a text as the cure.
It is unique.
Because we usually think of cures as physical actions. Do this yoga pose, eat this specific food, perform this ritual. But he is saying, no, the intake of these specific ideas is the cure.
That is the core hypothesis of the Puranic tradition. The idea is that Shravana, which means hearing, is a transformative act in itself.
Hearing is transformative.
Yes. If you hear the right things deeply and repeatedly, it actually rewires your cognitive framework.
Like neuroplasticity.
Very much like that. It washes out the demonic impurities of anger and lust because those things simply cannot survive in a mind that is filled with the principles of Shiva.
So it is a cognitive cleanse. You flush out the bad data like anger and lust by flooding the system with good data, which is the story of Shiva.
Precisely. Suchi says this text satisfies Lord Shiva and increases bhakti or devotion that is rich in principles.
Rich in principles. That is a very specific phrase.
It is. The Sanskrit implies that this isn't just andhashraddha, which means blind faith.
Right.
It isn't just crying in front of a statue or empty ritual.
Right.
It is devotion that is deeply supported by jnana, by knowledge, by doctrine, by a comprehensive worldview. It satisfies the intellect just as much as it satisfies the heart.
Okay, but playing the skeptic here for a moment.
Please do.
If someone hands me a book and says, hey, this is the cure for all human suffering, my very first question is going to be, who wrote it?
Naturally.
What are their credentials? Because if it is just Suchi's personal opinion, that is one thing.
And Shaunak would completely agree with you. Authority is absolutely everything in these ancient traditions. You need to establish the parampara,
The Parampara.
the lineage, the chain of custody for the knowledge.
The chain of custody.
Right. Suji anticipates this skepticism. He maps out the origin story of the text immediately.
To prove its worth.
Yes. He explains that this wasn't just brainstormed by a human writer sitting under a tree. He says the original sermon was delivered by Lord Shiva himself.
So the source code is Shiva.
The ultimate reality. Shiva delivered it. Then the advice or instruction was passed to Sanat Kumara.
Who is Sanat Kumara? We hear that name sometimes, but who is he really in this context?
Sanat Kumara is a fascinating figure in the mythology. He is one of the 4 mind-born sons of Brahma the creator.
I'm born.
Yes, created directly from Brahma's mind. But unlike other sages who look like old men with long white beards, Sanat Kumara is depicted as a perpetual youth.
Oh, just
He is eternally a child, and yet he possesses the absolute highest wisdom. He represents the perfect union of innocence and intellect.
Okay, so the knowledge goes from Shiva to the eternal youth, Sanat Kumara. Then where does it go from there?
From Sanat Kumara, it goes to the sage Vyasa Guru Vyasa.
Vyasa,
Yeah.
a heavy hitter.
The heavyweight champion of Indian literature, without a doubt.
Truly.
Vyasa is traditionally credited with organizing the Vedas and writing the Mahabharata and the Puranas. He is the ultimate editor-in-chief of the tradition.
Right.
Sutji says that Vyasa composed the Shiva Purana respectfully based on the direct advice of Sanat Kumara.
Why is this lineage so important? Shiva to Sanat Kumara to Vyasa to Sutji. Why does Shaunak need to hear this specific chain?
Because it establishes two vital things: divine origin and human verification.
Explain that.
It comes from Shiva, so it is divine. But it was processed and codified by Vyasa, who represents the greatest human intellect.
Thanks.
And now it is being delivered by Sutji, who is the accessible teacher right in front of him. It tells Shaunak this isn't a theory, this is a direct transmission of truth.
It is the absolute gold standard of endorsement.
It is.
But I want to get to the specs of this text.
Yeah.
The physical details.
The dimensions of the book.
Right, because remember, Shaunak asked for the essence, the shortcut. But the source material says the Shiva Purana has 24,000 shlokas or verses.
Yes. 24,000 verses, divided into 7 samhitas or collections.
24,000 verses. In what universe is that a shortcut?
Wow.
It sounds like a lifetime of reading.
It is all relative. You have to
Yeah.
remember. You have to understand the sheer scale these sages operated on.
What do you mean?
The total body of Puranic literature is traditionally said to be hundreds of thousands, even millions of verses. The Skandha Purana alone is massive compared to this.
Oh, wow.
So relative to the everything 24,000 verses actually is the condensed version.
It is the pocket edition for sages.
For them, yes, exactly. And the structure is highly important.
How so?
It is divided into 7 samhitas, like the Vidyeshvara Samhita, the Rudra Samhita, and so on.
Okay.
This implies an organized curriculum. It is not just a random stream of consciousness. It is a highly structured guide to the universe.
So Chi is basically saying, I have the exact solution you asked for. It is from Shiva himself. It is neatly organized into 7 sections. It is 24,000 verses long. And if you read it, it will clean your mind.
That is the pitch, yes.
Now we get to the part that really stopped me in my tracks. Section 4 of our deep dive, the promise.
The Phala Shruti, the fruit of listening.
Right. We talked about this at the very beginning. The big promise. Usually religious texts are all about sacrifice.
Give up the world to get God.
Exactly. Give away your wealth. Stop eating good food. Stop having fun. But listen to this claim. The text says a person who engages with the Shiva Purana can enjoy Sampurna Bhogan,
All worldly pleasures.
all worldly pleasures, and then attain liberation.
Bhoga and moksha. Enjoyment and liberation.
That sounds like a complete contradiction in terms to me. How can you have attachment to worldly pleasures and detachment for liberation at the exact same time? Isn't that impossible?
In most philosophical systems, yes, it is entirely impossible.
Right.
But the Shiva Purana and the Shaiva tradition in general often takes a much more non-dual approach to reality.
Non-dual.
Yes. The argument here is subtle but profound. It is not saying go be a hedonist and you will magically find God.
Okay, good to know.
It is saying that if you view the world through the lens of Shiva, the distinction between the world and the divine completely collapses.
Can you unpack that a little more for me?
Absolutely. If you believe the world is totally separate from God, then naturally you have to reject the world to find God. They are opposites.
Right, that makes logical sense.
But if you believe, as this text heavily implies, that Shiva is the world, that the vast form of Shiva encompasses everything, including the physical world, then enjoying the world essentially becomes a form of worship.
Wow.
Provided it is done with the right awareness.
Provided it is done with the right awareness. That is the massive catch right there.
That is the yes.
Yeah.
The text lists the 4 purusharthas, the goals of human life in Indian philosophy.
Let's list those out for the listener.
Sure. They are dharma, which is duty or righteousness, artha, which is wealth or purpose, kama, which is desire or pleasure, and moksha, which is ultimate liberation.
Duty, wealth, pleasure, liberation.
Yes. And the text boldly claims that the Shiva Purana gives all 4 of these.
So it's not telling you to ignore artha and kama. It is not saying wealth and pleasure are evil.
Not at all. It is saying you can absolutely have them, but they need to be balanced by dharma and ultimately leading to moksha.
That makes so much more sense.
Think about the Kaliyuga diagnosis again. The problem wasn't desire itself. The problem was Asuri desire-obsessive, clouded, angry desire.
The toxic kind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The text argues that a purified mind, a mind washed by the Shiva Purana, can enjoy bhoga or pleasure without the sticky, toxic attachment that usually comes with it.
So a sinless person, Nishpap, as the text says, enjoys a beautiful sunset very differently than a stressed out person does.
Perfectly put.
How does the stressed person see it?
The stressed person is thinking, I need to take a photo of this sunset for my feed so people know I am happy. Or they're thinking about the emails they have to send.
That is Asuri. That is the anxiety talking.
Exactly. The purified person, on the other hand, just experiences the sunset as a direct manifestation of beauty of Shiva.
They just are.
They enjoy it fully, Sampurna, because there is no fragile ego blocking the view.
I see. So the enjoyment isn't the problem at all. The distraction is the problem.
Yes.
And the text removes the distraction.
It does. The text calls this getting Nishpap sinless. But again, we have to be very careful with the English word sin here.
Why is that?
Because in this context, sin isn't just breaking a moral rule, it is pap.
Pop.
It is that which weighs you down mentally and spiritually. It is the smallness of the ego.
Smallness.
Yes. The text constantly urges humans to understand the Vishal Swarup, the vast form of Shiva.
The vast form.
Yeah.
I really love that image. It is like expanding the aperture of a camera lens to let more light in.
That is exactly what it is. If you are entirely focused on your petty grievances and your daily annoyances, you are small, you are constricted.
And therefore you are suffering.
Exactly. But if you connect to the vast form, you expand. You become, as the text says, Sadasuki, eternally happy.
Eternally happy.
Well, because think about it. How can a vast, limitless ocean be disturbed by a single drop of rain? It can't.
That is a remarkably beautiful theological argument.
It is.
And there is a but coming here.
Always.
Knowing the theory is one thing. Doing it is another thing entirely. I can buy a gym membership, and I can understand the exact biomechanics of a perfect squat. But if I don't actually go to the gym, I don't get strong.
The eternal gap between theory and practice.
Yes. Does the Shiva Purana have a user manual? Or is it just read this text and cross your fingers and hope for the best?
Oh, it absolutely has a user manual. The source text is very specific about the methodology of consumption.
Okay.
It is not just about physically reading the words on the page. It is heavily about the internal state of the reader.
Okay, lay out the protocol for me. What does Shonak actually need to do when he sits down to read?
There are three main requirements mentioned in the text. First is Bhakti.
Devotion.
Yes, devotion. But again, think of Bhakti here as deep emotional engagement.
Not just blind worship.
Right. You cannot approach this text with cynical intellectual detachment. You have to be open to it emotionally.
So you definitely can't hate read the Shiva Purana.
No, it simply won't work. The mental defense mechanisms will block the Amrit.
Makes sense. What is the second requirement?
The second requirement is Sanyam, self-control.
Self-control while reading.
Yes. This is the discipline part of the equation. It implies strictly regulating your senses while you are engaged in the study.
So no multitasking.
Exactly. You can't be half listening to this while scrolling your phone or cooking dinner. It demands deep work-level focus.
Focus. Attention. That makes total sense to me. And the third requirement?
The third is actually my favorite. Prem, love.
Love.
Yes, love. Soji explicitly mentions early on that Shonak has immense love and longing in his mind.
I remember that.
The text strongly suggests that love is the chemical catalyst that turns raw information into actual transformation.
That is profound.
If you learn something with genuine love, it sticks to you. It becomes part of your cellular makeup.
But if you learn it with indifference...
If you learn it with indifference, it was just data. It is easily forgotten.
That is exactly like the difference between memorizing a poem for a standardized test and memorizing a poem because it breaks your heart.
That is a perfect analogy, yes. The text requires AR deep respect. It treats the knowledge not as a dead object, but as a living entity that you have to actively form a relationship with.
Wow. And is this a one-time thing? Do I read the 24,000 verses once on a weekend retreat and I am permanently cured of Kaliyuga?
No, definitely not. The text uses words like nitya, which means daily, and pratidin, which means every day.
So it implies a routine, a sustained practice.
Yes. It is spiritual hygiene, just like brushing your teeth.
You can't just brush your teeth once a year and expect no cavities.
Exactly. Nitya implies that the Asuri nature, the toxic dust of Kaliyuga, accumulates on your mind every single day.
Because you exist in the world.
Because you go out into the world, you sit in traffic, you get annoyed at a coworker, you get jealous of a neighbor, you get tired.
So every day, you need to dip back into the Amrit.
You need to wash the mind again.
Huh?
daily.
The text calls the person who actually does this Nishsanda Punyama,
Undoubtedly a virtuous soul.
and it calls the practice itself Sarvasadhan.
The means of all means. The ultimate tool.
The means of all means. That is a wildly bold claim to make.
It is the ultimate claim.
It is basically saying if you do this one single thing, connect with this essence deeply and daily, you do not need 1,000 other self-help hacks. This one covers it all,
Because it addresses the absolute root cause of the suffering.
which is the mind.
The state of the mind. If the mind is pure or Shuddha, everything else in your life, your work, your relationships, your physical health, your happiness, naturally falls into place.
It is top-down healing.
Yes.
We should definitely take a moment here to talk about the who at the center of all this.
Lord Shiva.
Right. We have talked a lot about the book itself, but the book is ultimately about Shiva. In the context of this specific introduction, how is Shiva described?
It is an important distinction to make.
Because Hinduism has a vast pantheon. And sometimes Shiva is known as the destroyer part of the Holy Trinity. Sometimes he is the ultimate ascetic meditating in the mountains. Who is he here in this text?
In the Shiva Purana, Shiva is elevated to Parameshwar, the supreme god.
The supreme god.
Yes, he is not just a functionary deity who destroys the world at the end of time. He is the substrate of reality itself.
He is the main character of the universe.
The all in all. The text explicitly says the Shiva Purana contains the Sarvasva of Lord Shiva.
Meaning his everything.
His total essence. And this is highly important because of the ultimate goal we mentioned earlier.
Shivaloka.
Yes, Shivaloka, the realm of Shiva.
What does that actually mean, though? A physical place?
No, not a physical planet. The text promises that the dedicated listener attains Gaudiya destination or state of being that is fully equal to the Supreme Soul.
Equal to the Supreme Soul.
Yes. The goal isn't just to worship Shiva from afar as a servant. The goal is to align your own consciousness with Shiva's infinite consciousness.
To become vast yourself.
Exactly, to merge with the vastness.
And the ultimate result of that alignment is being Sadasukhi, eternally happy.
Which neatly brings us full circle right back to the initial diagnosis.
Right. Kaliyuga is misery.
And Shivaloka is eternal happiness.
And the bridge between those two states is the text itself. Read with love and focus.
It is a remarkably consistent and elegant system.
It really is. You know, I want to zoom out for a second here.
Sure.
We have been very deep in the Sanskrit terminology and the ancient theology. But if we look at you, the listener, the modern learner, why does this ancient text actually matter today?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is, because look, most of us are not Shonak. We are not holding thousand-year sacrifices in a sacred forest.
Unlikely, yes.
We have strict deadlines, we have mortgages, we have an unbelievable amount of digital noise coming at us all day long.
True.
So how does this apply?
I would actually argue that Shonak is the absolute perfect avatar for the modern learner.
How so?
Think about his exact situation in the story. He is completely surrounded by information overload, the vastness of the Vedas and Puranas.
Right, he is overwhelmed by data.
He is surrounded by moral decay, the onset of Kaliyuga. He is feeling the intense pressure of his specific era.
And what does he do about it?
He aggressively seeks a filter.
A filter. That is a great way to put it.
He realizes logically that he cannot possibly consume everything. He needs a high-fidelity signal to cut through all the relentless noise.
And the Shiva Purana offers itself as that precise signal.
Exactly.
It is a direct solution to decision fatigue and moral fatigue.
Moral fatigue is a fantastic term for the Kaliyuga experience.
We are just so tired of trying to figure out the right thing to do in an increasingly complex world.
We are exhausted by it, and this text steps in and says, stop overthinking everything.
Not grinding.
Connect to the vast form. Purify your intent with Bhakti. Do it every single day without fail, and the right actions in your daily life will follow naturally.
It completely changes the standard order of operations.
It does.
We usually think, I need to fix my actions to become a good person, I need to volunteer more, or be nicer, or work harder.
And this text says, fix your input first to become a pure person, and your actions will automatically fix themselves.
Precisely. And notice the massive emphasis on listening. Shravana.
Yes, listening as an action.
In a modern world that totally prizes doing, hustle, grind, execute, produce, this text suggests that the absolutely highest action is actually a form of receptive passivity.
Deep listening.
Deep focused listening, allowing the profound wisdom to enter you and change you from the inside out.
It is scary for modern people because it feels like you aren't quote-unquote doing anything productive.
Right, you are just sitting there.
But the text argues forcefully that this internal calibration is the single most important work you can possibly do.
That is a very profound shift in perspective. We are completely obsessed with output.
And this ancient text is obsessed with input.
Garbage in, garbage out. Amrit in, immortality out.
I absolutely love that. Amrit in, immortality out. That should be on a t-shirt, honestly.
Maybe we should start a merch line for the deep dive.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
We still have to master the sanyam part first.
Fair enough. Self-control first, then merch.
Exactly.
So let's wrap this up and summarize what we've learned. We have covered a massive amount of ground today.
We really have.
We started with a universal human search for the shortcut to wisdom. We met Shaunak and his spot-on diagnosis of the Asuri, or demonic nature of the age.
A psychology completely defined by lust and anger.
Right. And then we looked at the specific prescription given by Saji, the Shiva Purana.
A 24,000-verse essence directly derived from Shiva himself and passed down through the brilliant intellect of Vyasa.
We heavily explored the big promise, the idea that you absolutely do not have to choose between enjoying the physical world and elevating your spirit.
You can have Sampurna Bhogan complete enjoyment and Moksha liberation.
If and only if you actively purify the mind first.
And we broke down the stringent user manual for that purification: devotion, self-control, and love.
A committed daily practice of actively connecting with the vast form of the universe.
It is a roadmap that feels surprisingly incredibly modern despite being thousands of years old.
It really does. The vocabulary definitely changes over time. We say anxiety today. They said Kaliyuga back then.
But the core human condition is remarkably stable.
It is. And the ultimate solution remains exactly the same. Curate your inputs, seek the true essence, and approach the wisdom of the world with genuine love.
Well said.
So here's my final thought for everyone listening today.
All right.
We very often treat learning as a purely transactional thing. I learn X so I can get Y.
Right. I read this business book so I can get a promotion at work.
Exactly. Or I listen to this deep dive so I can sound smart at a dinner party this weekend.
I think we are all highly guilty of that at times.
Oh, for sure. But the Shiva Purana suggests something radically different. It suggests that listening, when done with the exact right attitude, is actually the destination itself.
It is not a means to an end, it is the end.
Right. It suggests that if we prioritized deep listening to vast, infinite concepts, if we spent just 20 minutes a day just sitting and contemplating the vast form of the universe,
that might actually do infinitely more for our daily productivity and our overall happiness than any internet productivity hack ever could. It completely leaves us with a vital question. What are you actually feeding your mind daily?
Right.
Are you consciously feeding it the chaotic Asuri noise of the age, or are you feeding it the Amrit of the essence?
that is the big question to mull over this week. Take some time to step back and explore the vast form of your own understanding.
Truly.
Thank you so much for diving deep with us today.
Thank you, it was a pleasure.
We will definitely see you all on the next deep dive.